Well, like I promised, the time is now. It's the Daily 3. That's 3 questions, 3 minutes. Take it away, Sam.
All right, we got to talk about the Timberwolves, who lose another fourth quarter lead on Friday. They lose the series in 6 games. The season is over for the Minnesota Timberwolves. So, Ron, what is your lasting impression of this playoff series that the Wolves lose 4-2 to the Memphis Grizzlies?
Yeah, the one word that's in my mind is unfinished business. I think that should be their mantra going into the offseason and then starting next season. They didn't finish the job. If they were hitmen, I wouldn't pay them because the body's not dead. Like, they basically shot a couple warning shots. Like, I'm putting this in Hitman terms. Why? Because I love the movie Hitman. I love those kind of movies. Fired a couple warning shots. Maybe threw a smoke grenade into the apartment. But then they fell in love. Like, if you've seen the movie Hitman, he actually falls in love with, like, his target and a possible target of other hitmen. And that's a no-no. Hitmen don't have feelings. Like, you can't fall in love. And I say that because I feel like they fell in love with the moment. Like, they fell in love with the stuff. They fell in love with being in the playoffs, celebrating that 7th game, play-in game win, that 7th seed play-in game win. I feel like they fell in love with the Ja Morant, T. Morant, Karl-Anthony Towns daddy's story, the Ja Morant, Karl-Anthony Towns, friendship, the Usher, T. Morant look-alike. I mean, they fell in love with the moment. And then I feel like, some of the comments being made, like Karl-Anthony Towns, oh, we're home now. Like, they gotta deal with us at home now. And then you lose. And then T. Morant or Ja Morant can make fun of you. Like, it felt like every time, they grittied after one of the games. And then what does T. or Ja Morant do? He gritties after they knock him out. Like, it was just too much of trying to be, these sound bites, these like wannabe persona gangster. Like, be what you are, be a team. I look back at like team wins that won championships that you're really like, who? Like, who? Like the Raptors. There wasn't like a moment or a guy other than Drake, the rapper, like loaning them his plane so they can fly to games. And like, there wasn't really a guy, there was no LeBron, Kyrie on that Raptors team. It was just a team. They went out there and played. They had big moments. Kawhi, showed up and hero balled them into the Sixers win with the late heroics. But I just feel like that's my lasting impression, that being up 20, being up 10 with 4 minutes to go, not utilizing timeouts when teams are going on 8-0 runs and just not being able to do it. Like my daughter's volleyball team, same thing this weekend. Final set of the not championship. We were in the second place game. Champion was already crowned because they had beaten everybody. So now the game we were playing, it was for second place, but they were up in the final set, like, I don't know, 8-1. My daughter had rattled off, like, and she's only 11, but she can already jump serve. She had rattled off 7 great jump serves and was just dinging them, aces and everything. I actually posted a couple of those on my Instagram. That's 3 Ron Johnson on Instagram if you want to check it out. But their coach, the other team, calls a timeout. And I'm like, okay, here we go. Girls come out. They go on a 4-0 run. Our coach doesn't call a timeout. And that's where I'm like, you know what? The minute they went on a 4-0 run, just call a timeout quick. Like, just get the girls back and say, hey, we're up 8-4. All you got to do is get a side out, and we're going to put the pressure back on them. Ends up being, I want to say, 12-12, and then 14-12. And then our best server comes up, and we just can't get it done. Or one of our better servers comes up. Because, of course, I'm going to say my daughter's the best because she can jump serve. But, yeah, and so I thought about that. That's the lasting impression. I told my daughter that. I'm like, remember that feeling and take it, because now we're in softball season. I'm like, take it in the softball season. Take that feeling of like having the lead or not doing what you're supposed to do the entire game, because one lackadaisical point turned into 4. Momentum is key in all sports. And I think that's what I remember. I remember not being able to get it closed out.
Yeah, the narrative was that the Wolves had really won 4 of the 5 games. They'd been the better team. They led for most of the time. Well, when you blow 3 leads in the fourth quarter, that is a developed skill that the Wolves have not learned. And
Yeah.
that means that they were not the better team. If that happens over and over and over again, it's not an anomaly. That's part of their makeup, is that they just don't know how to finish games. So you can't say that you were the better team in that series when you lose those leads late.
Yep.
The Minnesota Wild begin their playoff push tonight, 8:30 Central Time against the Blues at XL Energy Center. So, Ron, I want your series prediction. Who wins the series and in how many games?
I'm not well versed on the Wild, I'd say. I'm a casual, as people would call me. I can watch it. I will watch playoffs because I know it's fun. It's a lot more exciting in the playoffs. The intensity's up. That's any sport. The playoffs makes it just like that's why I love the softball college World Series. It's the intensity it's up. Girls are going at it. I'm gonna say Wild. They got 2 at home. They got 2 on the road. And then they have to come home, and then they go on the road and they're home. I'm gonna say Wild in 6. I think they can probably get it done in 5, maybe, but I'm gonna say Wild in 6. Why? Because it's sports. The Blues, like the difference in hockey now that after I look at it too, it's not like one plays 8. You have to play somebody, the one team in your division. I don't really like how hockey, after I like researched it a little bit, I don't like that. Like, why am I playing a really good team to start off? And I guess all the teams, because it's everybody's doing that. And then the one team gets it because the top team gets a bye, right? Is that how it works?
The top team plays one of the 2 wild cards.
The
The
wild
the
cards. Okay,
the
got it.
wild cards are they are so top 3 from each division, and then the next 2 best are the wild
Yep,
cards.
got it. And so, right. So now they're going to play one of the wild cards in this. And so one plays a wild card, 2 plays 3, basically. Um, I guess it makes it better the way they split up all these divisions like that and so many different ones. I just think that's tough. Like it's tough to do it. So it's anybody's game. It's not like one team's dominant. Like they both were fighting for home ice at the very end, so it's even more intense. But I'll give it. I mean, home ice. I'll give it to them. Like anytime you got your fans helping you out, I'll give it to the Wild. Wild in 5. Or Wild in 6.
I'm gonna go Wild in 5.
Okay.
I think they win all the home games in this series. They get 1 on the road, and St. Louis is good, but I don't know who's stopping the Wild right now. The way they're playing, this feels like a team that could go the distance. I know I'm jinxing it. They're probably going to get a limit swept now, but this feels like a team that has that capability. Ron, I got to get your take on the Gophers that were drafted. We touched on Esteza Yotamewo, but I want to hear, Boye Mafe, Keefe, Daniel Faalele, all got drafted over the weekend as well. So who do you think is going to have the brightest NFL future?
That's hard. I can't do that one. I'm gonna say this is what I will say. I think Boye going to a deficient team like the Seahawks, who traded away their world with the Broncos and let Russell Wilson go. They've just not been the Legion of Boom anymore. Kind of starting from scratch. I'll say Boye Mafe in that stadium and in that crowd, the type of style defense they play where it's loose and wild and they like to get after the quarterback, as we've seen when they play the Vikings. I'm going to say Boye, I'm not going to say longer, but I'm just going to say he's going to have a pretty solid career. Daniel Faalele, I did a Ravens interview about that because he's a Gopher and to the Ravens, and same with me. And so I did the same thing last year with Rashad Bateman. So they called me again about doing Daniel Faalele. And I think athletically, like the way that team plays, it's going to be a question mark because it's not a sit in the pocket QB. It's a different style offense. So it'll be interesting to see how he does there. But the one surprise I will say, if he had more time, I would say Keefe. And I mean time, not in him, but in Tom Brady. If he had more time with Tom Brady, I would say Keefe. Why? Because Tom Brady loves tight ends. He loves them. I mean, turn Gronk into an absolute, like, I look at draft comparisons of Gronk when he came out of Arizona, and people were saying, like, oh, that's a dumb pick. Like, I don't see it. I don't see him having a long career, blah, blah. Look at him. And Gronk, I love Gronk because somebody tweeted that out, that draft, whatever deal, after the pick was made. And he was just like, and he tagged it. I mean, Gronk tweeted at the guy who did it too. It was like, hey, what do you think now? So I love that because I know Gronk was seriously sitting there probably having a beer with his brothers and just like, hey, man, look at this idiot. Let's tweet to him, and then he tweets to the guy. And I didn't see if the guy ever responded back, but I love that kind of stuff. And so when I think about Keefe with Tom Brady Tom Brady is smart, man. Like he can make. I mean, he got Tyler Johnson some early touchdowns. Had some great plays with Tyler Johnson. So, Keith's going to a team when you know people. You know Antoine Winfield now. You know Tyler Johnson. Those are your teammates. Like it's going to be so much more comfortable for him. But when you look at him as a blocker in the backfield, he's bigger than people know. He's 6'5". Like he's a tall kid. He looks like a fullback, but he's tall. So I think the Bucs can turn him into a nice NFL player.